freaking first cut. Golly.
Welcome to the First Cut Podcast. I'm Rick Gehman, and this is your mega preview pod for this week's Open Championship. It's storylines, it's our best bets, it's one and done, and it is, of course, presented by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can make every moment more. Joining me to break it all down, Patrick McDonald is here. Patrick.
What's going on, guys? Excited to be here. Excited for the Open Championship. I would say a top 5 week in the year in general. Masters, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Open Championship, throw that in there. And of course, I'm happy to share it with you guys too.
He always does this. This is bait. He is baiting me to go down this road.
For sure.
Greg DuCharme is here. Hello, Greg.
Yeah, it's let's say a top 4 golf week of the year.
Wow, brave.
Okay. I'll go out on that limb. You can roast me for it all you want, but I love the Open Championship too. I'm very excited for it. And like Patrick said, what an honor to be able to share it with you guys. I'm so grateful.
Wow, lots of great vibes already. Cal Porter is here, KP. Good to see you.
Yeah, you cowards won't rank them. I will. I'll go ahead and rank them. Open 1, Masters 2, US Open 3, PGA 4.
Wow. That might get a lot of people fired up. Usually the default number 1 spot is the Masters.
That's fine. The Opens, though, I find the Open to be more interesting and compelling. I think it's bigger field. The golf courses are they're not necessarily better, but they're just, I think they're more intriguing during the week, especially when you get weather. And I don't know, like intriguing might even be the right word. Augusta National is complex and fascinating, but I love the Open Championship courses, and I love this week.
I find there's a sense of desperation at the Open. You know, there's a sense of renewal, the start of major championship season. Everyone has hope. Everyone has something to look forward to in April. But at the Open, especially now that it is the last major, it's like, man, it's now or never. Seasons haven't been going in the right way. It feels more desperate right now, which I like.
It kind of reminds me from a viewing perspective, kind of like being in the airport where there's no rules. Like this morning, I woke up 5 a.m., pounded in an energy drink. Just did not need to. My heart was racing 100 miles per hour. Kind of like when you're in an airport, it's 10 a.m. and it's like the only thing that's open is Panda Express. And then you combo that with a beer. Anywhere else in the world, you get judged. But kind of during Open Championship week, like energy drinks, candy, I might have some ice cream later. I haven't done that in a while. It's kind of like the airport.
You might, yeah. Anywhere else, you might get arrested for that combo. I'm with Patrick though. We're about to be on the anything goes schedule, and Patrick's just getting ahead of it a little bit. But I just think it's like, especially when you get to Friday afternoon and like our time. I mean, you almost feel like drunk from the last 3 days of content. It's insane. It's such a fun week.
Maybe according to Patrick's rules, you actually are.
Yeah, who knows?
Airports, casinos, and the Open. Anything goes at any time, I believe, are the 3 places. Let's jump into this and let's talk about the golf course, Royal Troon. And Greg, I'll start here with you because there's a couple of items here. You know, major championships in general, I think a lot of times get very much associated with the venue, but that is even more so at an Open because of the history, because of, at least for us, the American-centric side of things, the differences, the unique nature of these golf courses from what we see week in and week out. This time it's Troon. We were here in 2016. Now, 8 years later, we get to see it again.
Yes, which is an interesting aspect of it because there's kind of a combination or a middle ground, if you will, where Augusta National, you see the Masters, I should say, you see the same golf course every year in Augusta National. I don't think anybody's wishing they would change that. Sometimes with PGA championships and US Opens, you get new venues that you've never seen before. perhaps you've only seen them once or twice. When it comes to the Open, most of these venues have hosted, at the very least 5 Open championships before. And so we've had a chance to see them, but we don't see them every year. And we're now back to Troon for the first time in 8 years. And last time we were here, there were many memorable shots. It was one of the most memorable duels in major championship history. So there's somewhat of a new feeling because we haven't been here in 8 years, but at the same time, you're familiar enough with certain holes like number 8, the postage stamp hole, like number 11, which could perhaps play as the most difficult hole on the PGA Tour this year. There are certain aspects that you do remember, which is, I think, a really cool attribute and aspect.
This will be occasion number 10 for the Open Championship at Royal Troon. How many of the 9 past winners do we think we could name? Let's set the line.
Most of them.
So 7.
Mm-hmm.
I think all of it. I think all of them.
All of them.
Let's have at it. Let's have at it.
Todd Hamilton.
That was 2004.
Arthur
Stinson.
Havers.
That was 1923.
Greg.
Congratulations, Greg.
Arnold Palmer.
Bobby Locke.
1962 and 1950. So we have the first 3.
Justin Leonard.
That's 97.
Mark
5.
Calcavecchia.
Mark Calcavecchia.
89. That's 6.
Tom Weiskopf.
That's right. 1973. That's 7. We were missing 2.
We said Stinson, right?
We did not.
did
That's
not.
2016. We are 1 away.
So we got Havers and Locke and Palmer, Watson, Tom Watson.
Congratulations. 1982.
Wow.
Tom Watson, 9 for 9 with absolutely no sweat whatsoever. Well done, gentlemen. KP, the other thing about open venues is the stories and the history, and almost to kind of link this back to Patrick's anything goes. Like there's just a railroad over there, right? Like you're just going to have to deal with it. And it's going to be the hardest hole that they play all year long, and good luck. Also, we call it the postage stamp because like one guy probably 200 years ago said the green was the size of a postage stamp, and it just gets passed down. You know what I mean? Like it's just, and by the way, we're going to put a bunker over there. We're going to shape it like a coffin, and we're going to call it like the coffin bunker, right? It's just like, there's just anything goes at these things.
Yeah, it's I think it was only 100 years ago when it got renamed the postage stamp. Do you know who it was, Greg?
No.
Greg, I'll find out.
It was I just saw this today. It
You know
was
what? I saw this earlier in the week too.
Sam
Snead?
No, it was somebody. It was a famous architect. It was Willie Park.
That's right. Yeah. So in Golf Illustrated, which did that become Golf Digest, or did that
I think it became normal sport.
or did it become normal sport? He said that it was, quote, a pitching surface skimmed down to the size of a postage stamp, and it stuck.
Yeah. It's first of all, I want to acknowledge that Greg just dropped, what's the guy's name? Arthur
Havers.
Atwell.
and nobody really blinked. I mean, this is absurd. Like
I looked at this list like yesterday.
he's like right now, like it's on your computer screen.
No, it's not on my computer screen, but I looked at it. And you know what? The reason I remembered those and probably could have gotten them on my own is because I was trying to find a connection between Scottie Scheffler and all of them. Like, maybe they're the same height, or maybe
Same age.
Yeah, maybe Arthur Havers' dad was named Scott. I didn't quite get that too in depth, and I don't know that it is or isn't. But that's why I was familiar with Arthur Havers.
I take back what I said about Greg because he just took credit for the ones that me and Patrick got also. So never mind. Yeah, I mean, yes, Rick. Like I think it's the event where I mean championship tournament golf. You always see absurd situations, right? It's kind of the genesis of all the normal sports stuff, but it's even more so at links courses, and you get. I think what's so interesting about these championship events is you get so many different variables. You start to get okay, a ton of people on the grounds. Well, that's different. Ton of TIO stuff. Like, okay, well, that's different than just playing a regular golf course. Then you get weather. Then you get, there's just a million different things. And I think I think this tournament is sort of the epitome of that. And maybe that's why I like it the most. It's just, there's so, I mean, the Spieth thing at Birkdale, who was it that hit like 3 out of bounds off Adam Scott off the 18th tee last year when he hit, I think it was 2 straight out of bounds or something. I mean, it was something crazy.
Hatton may have done that too.
Yeah. And then he like did the shotgun thing, which is maybe his patented move. Yeah, it's the best week. And I think what you said sums it up very well, Rick, that there's just a ton of not randomness to the tournament, although there is that, but there's just a ton of random exterior factors that you don't get even at other majors.
I was thinking about this today. This is kind of a different note, but I thought that if I was in a clubhouse, in a golf clubhouse that was dated and looked like it was from the 1970s, I'd be like, this is kind of dated. I hate it. But if it was from like the 1870s, I'd be like, this is sick, right? So there's like this, you can be outdated as in golf as long as you're outdated a lot.
Yeah.
Which is like what the Open Championship is. So Patrick, looking at the forecast, and I am not a meteorologist, but we might be in for some wet and windy stuff. Confidence very low on all of these, as they always are.
Hold up.
Yes.
To listen to Rick at majors, I would think you are a meteorologist, because he's always going on about how, I mean, guys, we have never had more accurate details about the weather than we do at this moment in history.
We are living in the golden era of weather prognosticating.
And
Rick,
there are some flaws, Rick, which we highlighted earlier this week.
There are some flaws, but
who's your wind finder? What monument or post are you using for wind finding?
I'm using the Prestwick station.
Ooh, okay. I've heard mixed reviews about the
Hold on, you've heard multiple reviews about the Prestwick station for wind finding?
He has no idea.
No, zero. Continue with the weather forecast, Rick. I'm sorry.
Well, there is a chance of precipitation somewhere between 30 and 50% every single day. Winds maybe sustaining in the mid-teens to gusts upwards of 25-ish miles an hour. And it, of course, as I was saying, low confidence, right? All this stuff changes seemingly every single second over there. But this is what we want, Patrick. This is the event where you want Mother Nature to play a role.
Yeah, you do. And I think pretty confidently you could say probably like 10 to 20 miles per hour in rain is coming this week, right? I'm pretty confident in that. They might be low on confident. I'm pretty unconfident.
You're never low on confidence, Patrick.
Thank you, Rick. But yeah, it is what we want. I think you look at, there was some good weather there over the weekend at Liverpool last year, but at that point, the tournament was honestly kind of over, especially on Sunday. St. Andrews, pretty much a dome. I know KP could speak more on that being there. And so, yeah, it'd be good to get some weather. Valhalla was a shootout. Pinehurst was obviously great, baked out. So maybe the opposite of that, where it's wet, it's windy, it's ugly. People are going to get mad. People are going to complain about their side of the draw, like Justin Thomas, who never gets the good side of the draw, unfortunately. It's a shame, Justin Thomas. He's probably going to get the bad draw again somehow. I don't know, but knowing him. And so, like KP said, all the external factors, you add them on top of each other, weather being a huge one, and they just slowly but surely just get under these guys' skin. And I think that's one of the best parts of the Open Championship, because it's more than just what you can do skill-wise and on the golf course, but patience-wise, what's going on in between the ears. And if we get 15-mile-per-hour winds, gust up to 25, 30 with consistent rain, that's just so annoying. Consistent, steady rain is got to be one of the most annoying things to golf in.
Especially if the wind is changing. I did get a report from boots on the ground there, and it is the one thing to, I guess, keep in mind or think about as we go into the week. It's been unusually wet there in Scotland this summer, and so it's not going to be the. I when I think of opens, I think of like Muirfield being like just brown and gray, like just balls run forever. You can't stop. It's awesome, and that's not, I don't think, going to be the case this week. So it'll be different, I think, than, like Patrick said, we've had the last several opens in terms of like, just, we haven't gotten a ton of rain, but we also haven't seen super wet and lush conditions necessarily. So I think that'll be intriguing.
The pressers are underway. We've got a couple days worth of some interesting quotes. We've got to talk about the big storylines, our one and done selections, the bets. There's a lot to do, gentlemen, and we are going to get started on that side of things right after a quick word from our partners. And we're back. Before I jump into some of the press conference stuff, Greg, you were looking for trends or connections between all of the past champions. I am on this email list. Let me make sure that I source this correctly. From sportshandle.com. I don't know how I got on this email list, but they send out the most outrageous things you have ever seen along with their methodology. So, for example, average height of a British Open winner, 5 feet 11 inches, average weight 181 and 78 pounds.
How many stones?
I'd have to do the conversion for you. How about this? The most common astrological sign, Gemini. 10 champions. Yeah, 10 champions. They also, this is my favorite part. So they have 43% wore short-sleeved golf shirt. Blue was the most popular color worn on the final day, et cetera, et cetera. But then in the methodology, they have to say the dress code of winners was only analyzed from 1965 due to the lack of photographs in color from earlier years.
Sure.
Wow.
Which I thought was just absolutely splendid.
Yeah, that is wonderful. I do think there could be one interesting trend. I know we want to get to some of these press conferences, but in those champions that we mentioned earlier, most of them are American. There are only 3 that aren't. And there was a period of time before Stenson won where 6 straight Americans had won at Royal Troon. I've heard this golf course described as the most benign, the least likely to get some bad bounces, open like links bounces. And, if that's true, there may be something to that, why Americans have had so much success here at Royal Troon. Maybe even Henrik Stenson fits into that category, where it's kind of a simplified game. For what it's worth, I mean, the Europeans play American golf now too, so I'm not sure if that carries much weight in this day and age, but it's interesting.
Well, I'll link that to the Justin Ray tweet from earlier. American players have won each of the first 3 men's majors this year. So going for the sweep. The last time there was an American sweep.
Wait, can we guess?
Sure.
Last year.
Do you think that would be noteworthy, Patrick, if it was last year?
You could think about who won the majors last year.
Yeah.
John Rahm, Scottsdale, Koepka, Clark, Harmon.
It's got to be who won the 2000? No, that was who won the 2000 Masters? VJ. So no. I don't know.
1776.
We did sweep some stuff.
Yeah, lots of wins, but not majors.
I'm not participating because I saw this tweet right before we came on.
The connection is that it was 1982 when Tom Watson won at Royal Troon, also won the Masters. Raymond Floyd and Craig Stadler won the other two. So there you go.
Stadler won. How many majors did he win? Just two Masters and
just one.
Wait, I thought he won the Masters.
He won the Masters.
He won the 80.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Did I might have screwed you up on that. So hold on.
1982 Masters. That was it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was.
Watson didn't win the 82 Masters.
No, he did not. That is where he won the 82 U.S. Open and Open. My bad.
Okay.
He won the 81 Masters.
Both Opens is sick. That's really sick.
Yeah, it is really sick. Let's talk a little bit of Tiger. And we can do this. I don't think we need to get too deep into it because he's making a little bit more noise off the golf course than he might make on the golf course this week. Colin Montgomerie, a few days ago, gave an interview in which he downplayed expectations in a big way for Tiger Woods and essentially implied that he should retire. And Tiger was asked about it. We have the clip.
Tiger, just to almost follow up on that, you've given so much to this game, you've given so much to this championship, but there was comments, last week from Colin Montgomerie who said, why is he here? He should retire. There's no point to this. Do you feel that's a bit hurtful and you've earned the right to make the decision when you decide?
Well, as a past champion, I'm exempt till I'm 60. Colin's not. He's not a past champion, so he's not exempt. So he doesn't get the opportunity to make that decision. I do.
That's what I mean. You've earned that. You've deserved it.
So when I get to be at his age, I can still make that decision when he doesn't.
Next question.
Nice little jab there, Greg.
Yes, it was a little jab. Part of it's truth as well, right? He does get the opportunity to make these decisions. And I think it brings up something that's interesting in what Colin Montgomerie said, the effect of the legacy and all of that. I just think the part that Colin Montgomerie is missing when he makes that statement is that Tiger is I believe that Tiger tries to compete in these because for the sake of not obtaining a result, but for the sake of trying. I think it's part of who Tiger is, and the chase is the thing that he wants to do day in and day out. He wants to do hard things and he wants it to be difficult. And I think that's very likely one of the reasons why he is exempt and has an opportunity to play in this event until he's 60, why he has 15 majors and 82 PGA Tour events. I think it really comes from that attitude, which he clearly still has.
Tiger, so good, Kyle, jumping in.
I was going to say I ride with Monty.
Ooh.
Okay, so you think some of the comments that Monty made were doesn't look like he's having any fun. He's not going to have fun at Royal Troon.
True.
It's just kind of past him.
True. They're all true. I mean, I think I don't necessarily disagree with Greg. I don't mind him showing up and playing these tournaments because I think that I don't know. Like to me, it's meaningful to be in an open field, like to be in it, right? But what really grates against me is him showing up, be like, yeah, I can win, and it's like, dude, you finished 2 events since the 2020 Masters, and they were both the Masters. It was 2020. I think it was 2022 Masters and 2024 Masters. You can check me on that, Rick, but. He's not a threat to get into contention at these tournaments. And so I'm fine showing up, but let's not pretend like you're like a contender. And if the argument is like, well, what's he going to say? I think there's a version of like, listen, I don't know if I'm going to win or not, but I love competing. Right. And he won't say that. He'll just say, yeah, I can win. It's like, no, you can't. Like, what are we even talking about? And so I don't know that the call is for him to retire, but it's to, I think, embrace a different stage of his career. And I think I get a little frustrated that he won't do that. And so a lot of other people won't do that as well.
Well, we almost got a different stage of his career because he was very much up for Ryder Cup captaincy, Patrick. And of course, Tiger was asked about it and he addressed it. He would say that he just didn't feel like he could do the job properly. I couldn't devote the time. I barely had enough time to do what I'm doing right now, add in TGL starting next week, as well as the Ryder Cup, along with negotiations with PIF, all that going on at the same time. He would go on to say there's only so many hours in a day.
I think he wants to be the one to break the streak across the pond. Like that's the high upside captaincy, right? Going to Ireland in 27 and bringing the cup back to America. And he said it was kind of a transition period for the leadership room, which is totally true. Keegan has not asked him to be a vice captain yet. I do wonder if Keegan's going to be a vice captain for the President's Cup. I know Furyk still has a couple spots there. I wonder if that would help. But I think Tiger, yeah, he's got a lot of stuff going on. Sounds like a consultant at this point, talking about adding shareholder value, synergies, all that good stuff, effectiveness, efficiency of internal controls and whatnot. And I think at the end of the day, he saw how busy he was, and he wants to be the guy to go to Ireland in 27 and bring it back.
I'd argue that's it is high reward, but it's pretty low risk. If you're just another loser in across the pond, it's like, okay.
Exactly.
They should have flipped him. They should have had Tiger at home and Keegan on the road, but
I kind of agree with that.
Nobody consulted me.
Soon. Next time we'll get to you, KP. Let's talk about some guys who have the best chances of winning this golf tournament. Let's start with the man who's had the best major championship season, Greg. That's Bryson DeChambeau. Win, runner-up finish, T6. We talked a little bit about this on Monday, but the Open Championship for him, kind of a different beast. He's got one good result. It's a T8, and then nothing else inside the top 30.
Yeah, and I think it's important to note where T8 was. That was at St. Andrews. And St. Andrews has a history of rewarding the longest players because it's so wide open, where many of the other Open Championship venues have a tendency to reward accuracy, penalize misses. And part of me goes back to Pinehurst, seeing Bryson miss a number of fairways on Sunday and get some breaks and get the opportunity to get the ball, get it close to the ball and advance it on or around the green. So Bryson's very clearly playing some great golf, and he has an opportunity to come up with a different strategy for Royal Troon. I think he's going to have to come up with a different strategy and keep the ball in play a little bit more. And it definitely gives me concern that this might be the worst major performance of what has been a phenomenal year in majors.
Did you come into the year, Greg, thinking that it would be harder for him to play well at the Masters or at the Open, just generally speaking?
It's a really good question. It seems like the Masters has him snake bitten, but I do think that his advantages are highlighted more so at Augusta National. I think he's made improvements in his short game that I didn't expect, which, looking back now, probably highlights there is a bigger benefit at Augusta National. But at the beginning of the year, because the Open is so variable and you don't know what kind of weather you're going to get, I probably would have said the Open over Augusta. Augusta sticks out as a problem.
That it was easier for him to play well at the Open?
Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I probably would agree. I think, yeah, I mean, look, like if you drive it wildly at Augusta, you can be fine. I mean, Phil has been awesome there, right? And Phil has historically struggled at Opens. And I'm with you, Greg. I mean, Bryson's been awesome this year. Like, I think people are sort of underrating how much he's elevated his game. But like, what is how does he play this golf course? He had a persimmon driver out there today. Maybe he plays persimmon. Who knows? Who can say? He gets really wound up traditionally at Open venues because they get to him, which is sick. Like that's part of the deal. But I'm very intrigued by his strategy to attack this golf course.
the betting favorite is Scottie Scheffler, Patrick, and he's having by far one of the best seasons that we've ever seen. And there's been this growing question. I think it's only being perpetuated by Josh, though, so I'm not entirely sure this is larger than that. But the question is, does he need a major? Does he need another major in this year? How can you be disappointed with one major championship?
Josh said this.
Josh has it in the outline. He's been pushing this for weeks.
I thought that was mean. I think I might have perpetuated this.
Did you say this?
He has it in bold. It's bolded. If he doesn't win, does his major championship season feel underwhelming? I would say no. You got arrested. That's memorable. If anything, that's overwhelming. And then you add a green jacket on top of that.
Even if he won and missed the cut in the other three, would not that would be successful, would it not?
All right. So Kyle did bring this up on Sunday, I believe. Mm-hmm. And so we talked about it a little bit. I put some more thought into it because I think you're both right to a degree. And this is what I've come up with. Rick, it would not be disappointing if he didn't win. He won the Masters. He won 6 tournaments this year in total. It would not be disappointing. But you're talking about probably let's just say conservatively, a top 10 season all time on the PGA Tour as it stands right now. Far from disappointing. But a win this week to get to 2 majors and 7 wins and counting puts him in a completely different level. Probably a top 3 PGA Tour season of all time. And you don't get very many opportunities to accomplish something like that. So, yeah, I think there's a lot to gain from a win this week.
Yeah, I love how Rick asked Patrick this question and then me and Greg answer it. But I think that this sounds about right. I think that in the short term, you're right, Rick. Like, it's not disappointing. But I think in the long term, like if you're just looking at, okay, what does your resume look like in 20 years? That if this season doesn't produce at least another, I don't even know that for me it's a win, it's like another real chance at one, then that's a little bit like you might regret that. Not regret, I don't even know what the right word is. But Greg's right. Like if he wins this week, we're talking about probably best PGA Tour season since 1983 outside of Tiger's 2000.
Right, you pass the Jordan Spieth year in 2015, which right now, with just one major, even though you have another win, it's hard to pass that because Jordan nearly won them all.
I think you passed. Yeah, he did. That was crazy. I think you pass a bunch of Tiger years because I think it's a harder era. Yeah, I think it's a huge opportunity, and I don't know if yeah, it's massive. I'm excited to see how he does.
Huge opportunities abound. How about Rory McIlroy trying to get it done again? I believe this is 38 major start. This will be the 38th since his last victory. And Patrick, he too had himself a presser, and he spoke obviously about the U.S. Open stuff, how he handled it afterwards, including changing his phone number. How often do you think Rory changes his phone number?
Someone asked him that very question.
Oh, really? What did he say?
Well, the guy tried to make a joke. Rory didn't really receive the joke too well. The guy was like, "Oh, is it because you can't pay your bills?" And Rory's like, "Nah, there's like plenty of money flying around golf right now. Not sure if you've noticed." And then I kind of started laughing a little bit and didn't hear his answer.
That's okay.
I think he used to change it a lot. He doesn't. He said he hasn't changed it in a while.
Well, he did after the U.S. Open, but Patrick, it really is just kind of more of the same, right? Pull my string, run it back. It's a couple days before a major championship. Rory McIlroy is playing great. He's one of the favorites to win the event. You could just run the tape from the last 10 years.
Yep. Rinse, wash, repeat. I will say I'm a little disappointed we didn't get any paparazzi photos from his trip to New York City. Just walking around, AirPods in, probably listening to I'm the Man by Aloe Black. And just trying to get over the U.S. Open, Kendall Roy style. But yeah, I mean, there really isn't much more to say about Rory McIlroy, the golfer, right? He's the best player of the decade. He's in fantastic form. He has been awesome on links golf really over the last decade. I think he has a win, a couple podium finishes, and 3 other top 6 finishes to his name. He always performs at this stage. And yeah, I mean, you look to the US Open and you think, okay, what can I change? Really, it's just keeping both eyes on the ball. He mentioned this at the Scottish Open, how he had one eye on Bryson the last handful of holes and one eye on his golf ball. And he saw what happened to his score. He played the last 4 and 3 over. So I think just staying in his own lane, worrying about himself, realizing his name should be the one that's feared on the leaderboard down the stretch as opposed to others, and playing off that front foot like he did for much of that Sunday at the US Open, and he should be in good shape.
I want to get to our wagers. I want to get to the one and done stuff. We can talk about more guys there, but we're going to end this block with a little game. Closest without going over. Greg has to go first because he's the champion, and that puts him at a disadvantage. And then Kyle will go, and then Patrick will go. So closest without going over, the number of unique men's major champions. So how many guys have ever won a major?
I suck at these.
Why is Patrick laughing?
I'm always horribly off with this game. I'm gonna say like 30.
I don't like the game.
30?
I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm being dramatic, but
You'll be that far off.
yes.
I don't like these games either. Well, you got at least 151. I guess that's not even true.
That's a good point.
Yes. Just so we're all aware here. Like Tiger Woods counts for 1. Okay,
Right.
He does not.
He's won 3 opens, won 5.
Right. So, and this is all majors. So Greg seems stuck on opens.
400.
Okay. Kyle,
211.
Patrick,
Can't go over.
cannot go over.
Oh, I'm just gonna say 212.
He's so dirty. I thought he was going to say 1. The correct answer is 233, and Patrick by scumming wins.
Play not the game, or take the game not to play.
Who is the most recent to add his name to the list?
Harmon?
Xander.
Xander, then Harmon, then Wyndham, Matt Fitzpatrick.
I think. Can I try to do the how many 2 major, 3 major, 4 major?
No, because I don't have that readily available. We will do that another day. But first, we're going to take a quick break and hear a word from our partners.
We need your sports news anywhere.
We've got breaking news to bring you.
Then get your sports anytime you want them. Big trade news overnight to discuss.
Because we know you need sports all the time.
A lot of movement in the rankings this week.
A legend adds to their legacy.
We're bringing you that breaking news right here on HQ.
CBS Sports HQ, anywhere, anytime, all the time.
And we're back. These are our Open Championship bets, the best bets. And it's brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, where you can make every moment more. Gentlemen, here we go. The grid will pop up via Josh's finger, and it will reveal $100 dispersed in a variety of ways. $50 on a matchup, $30 on a finishing position, $10 each on 2 separate outrights. Do it, Josh. Just reveal it. Yes. Okay. Matchups. Oh boy. Greg, start us off with your matchup, please.
All right. I am going with Cameron Young at plus 125 over Sahith Theegala. Now, this is a tough one because I think very highly of Theegala. But I love Cam Young's record in Open Championships. He has a tied second, a tied 8th. I really wanted to get him on the board. And to see him in a matchup at plus money, I think was a really kind of advantageous. And on Thigala, who I'm picking on here and not thrilled about, he has a tendency of kind of going up and down. And last week was an up, and I'm wondering if we get a little down, a little regression this week, even though he's been pretty darn good in majors. I think Cam Young can beat him.
That's Cam Young plus 125 over Sahith. Patrick. Oh, you found a top 10 player in the world.
Yeah, that's top 10 player in the world. Russell Henley minus 125 over John Maxwell, Homa. Homa's driver's in a very bad spot right now, grinding on the range seemingly before every tournament, trying to get it right. It's not getting right though. And then you give me Russell Henley, one of the most accurate drivers in the world, one of the best iron players, great around the green, great putter. I know the Open Championship history isn't great, but he's just a better player than Max Homa right now, in my opinion, and perhaps in my fact. So I'm going to go with him at minus 125 over Homa.
In your fact?
In my fact, yes.
He at least he acknowledges that he lives in his own reality, because it's not the one that we're all in here. I went Corey Connors over Louis Oosthuizen. I like what Louis is up to. I like what Corey Connors has been up to. Even better, low-key putting more consistently, picked up a ton of strokes in Canada, has popped a couple of times since then. And of course, we know he has no problem getting to those putting surfaces. So I like Corey Connors over Louis Oosthuizen, but pretty bullish on both of these guys. KP, you have opted to pick on one of the guys that entering 2024 would have been certainly one of the favorites to win a major championship this year. You're picking on him.
It's crazy that John Rahm is plus money over against Tommy Fleetwood, but I am picking on him. I mean, Rahm has been abysmal. His best finish at a major this year is T46, and that was at the Masters. Missed the cut at the PGA, had the toe at Pinehurst. He's a mess. And this is. I mean, Tommy's been one of the probably three best guys at Opens over the last 5 years. So I don't know. This one feels a little like Aaron Rai over Spieth at the John Deere to me. Just seems too obvious, which means maybe it won't hit. But yeah, I love it.
Yeah, very rarely do you see John Rahm as an underdog in a matchup to someone not named Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, even those guys. Rahm usually gets good numbers against. Finishing position, anyone that we want. We've got 2 top 20s, a top 30, and a top 40. KP, stay hot. I'll bounce it right back to you here. Your finishing position, please.
Yeah, I've got Aaron. Speaking of Aaron Rai, I've got Aaron Rai top 20. He's been like the best. You could if you took away the names, you could just throw resumes out there and say that Aaron Rai has been one of the 3 best players in the world over the last 2 months, month and a half, 6 weeks. He's been unbelievable. I mean, he's got a bunch of top 10s in a row, finished top 20 at the US Open. He's been playing great golf. So I like him to finish top 20, and I love this number of plus 220.
Yeah, plus 220 on the first 2 pages of the leaderboard. I went a little bit deeper. Top 40, Matteo Manassero, plus 200. He's been playing great golf all around the world. Played well last week. I'm not asking for that much. I'm asking for a T32. Go out and find me a T32, Matteo. You can do it, my friend. Patrick. Oh, what do you have?
Yeah, I have a guy who's going to finish T2, and that is Louis Oosthuizen, top 30, plus 150. This is his Super Bowl. This is the one he has circled on the calendar, right? Didn't get in the Masters this year, turned down the invitation to the PGA, didn't want to qualify for the US Open because he's got the Open Championship circled on the calendar. Playing great golf on Live Golf. Hasn't broken through. A lot of heartbreaks there. Unfortunately, my wallet is well aware, but I think a top 30 at plus 150 is more than attainable for the former champion.
So he hasn't won any tournaments in your fact?
In my fact and in my opinion. Although, I mean, he went,
or in your wallet.
He went back to back in South Africa during the winter. I wasn't aware of those financially, unfortunately.
He did. I think they were in December. He went back to back in South Africa, but those are not in Patrick's facts. Greg, you got a pretty good number on a guy who's usually much shorter than this as well.
Yeah, Patrick Cantlay, top 20, plus 160. I think it's a really strong number. You look at what Patrick Cantlay has done in the last 2 weeks. T3 at the U.S. Open, last 2 starts, I should say. T3 at the U.S. Open, T5 at the Travelers. Starting to see those ball striking numbers look much more like Patrick Cantlay. The putter has gotten a lot better in those 2 weeks. And the U.S. Open was really the first time we've seen Patrick Cantlay legitimately in contention in a major championship with a chance to win on the back nine. I think he's kind of cracked that code a little bit, and I think his form is quietly very strong. I think it's too quiet. So I'm not ready to move him over to the next column in the outright portion yet, but I am definitely ready to back him for a top 20.
Cantlay top 20, Louis top 30, Aaron Rai top 20, Mateo top 40 are the finishing positions. The outrights, we get 2 separate outrights here. Patrick, we will give you the honor. Please reveal your selections.
I went with Brooks Koepka, 45-1. I kind of think you're going to have to be a heavy hitter this week, right? You had Stenson, Mickelson's played well here. Norman almost won. JB Holmes was in the mix. Andrew Beef Johnston, Arby's finest, Rory McIlroy as well during that one. So I am under the belief you're going to have to kind of poke it out there pretty good. And so I went with Koepka, 45-1. The results haven't been great. He's been hitting the ball awesome on Live and in the past couple major championships. And I think the transition to slower greens without a ton of break, guys seem to fill it up at Troon, not a ton of undulation on these greens, is going to help someone like Koepka. And then I'm going to go with Tony Finau, where he be now, in my facts at 50-1 as your winner of the Open Championship. A little nugget I came across. The wind kind of quarters off the left coming in. And so that's why you've seen someone like Mickelson, who hits a fade against that wind, play well at this golf course twice. Stenson hits a draw as well. Finau can work it right to left. He's playing awesome golf too. The short game has come around the past couple months. Putter looks good, and we know the ball striking. The results back it up, the U.S. Open and the Travelers. So 50-1, contended at a wet and windy Portrush in 19, podium finished there. And I think he finally gets across the finish line and wins major number 1.
Oh, I need to hear more about this Koepka ball striking at majors. He's been hitting it good.
Yeah, he had a great at the U.S. Open, had a great at PGA.
Just no putts.
No putts. Yeah, U.S. Open, he gained on data golf almost a stroke per round on approach.
Okay.
And 2/3 off the tee. Lost almost a stroke per round putting.
Yeah, he's been dealing with a bulky putter for sure. That's Koepka and Finau for Patrick. KP, reveal your selections, please.
Yeah, it's Rory and Ludwig. I think one of these 2 guys will win the golf tournament. So I just threw them in here. I didn't really care what the numbers were. I hate Scottie at plus 450. It's so short. I just, there's too much that happens at opens, and I think Rory or Ludwig is going to win. So I've got them both at plus 850, plus 1600 respectively.
Colin Morikawa for me. I'm not remotely close to giving up this hope. He's doing everything exactly what you would want. And then Shane Lowry, who has been playing much better golf, much more sustainable golf. I think if we can mud this thing up, slop it up a little bit, that helps out Shane Lowry in quite a good way. And then Greg, you are resolute. You are strong. You are at the top of the board. Reveal your picks.
Yeah, look, Opens are known for volatility and out of the blue winners in many cases. So I went with the top 2 favorites, which would be Scottie Scheffler and Rory McIlroy. I think Scottie has all the shots. I think he can handle this wind. I love what he's done on the greens this year. I think Pinehurst is a wild anomaly, and I don't see that happening again. So I think the best ball striker wins this week, and I think that's Scottie Scheffler. If it's not Rory McIlroy, I rarely select Rory as for outrights in majors, but I think the pain of Pinehurst can actually be a benefit to him. He's been playing phenomenal golf right there with Scheffler since after the RBC Heritage. And I think Rory's B game is good enough to contend in this. And I think he'll be in the mix on Sunday as well.
There you have it. Scottie Scheffler, Rory McIlroy for Greg. Now we head over to our bonus bets, an extra $50 to put on anything that we want. And something very interesting has happened here. Two of you have selected the same wager. It's Kyle, it's Greg. It's Tony Finau to finish inside the top 20 at plus 180. KP, what do you think?
Yeah, where he be now? I'm with Patrick. I think Finau's playing awesome golf. I think it's 3 or 4 straight top 10s. Played great at the U.S. Open. I don't know if he's going to win, but he's been really low key excellent at Open Championships. 6 top 30s and 7 starts. I think this was his first start ever back in 2016 at an Open. Didn't finish in the top 30. No, he did finish in the top 30 there. There was one along the way that he hasn't. And I love the way he's playing. His iron play has been arguably the best season of his career in terms of approach play. So plus 180 in the top 20 seems pretty good to me.
Greg is on the same number, and Patrick. So there's a little story here. Patrick, why don't you go first and let us know what your best bet is?
So originally, I was going to put Jordan Spieth 90-1 here. Decided against it. I thought about Koepka 45, double up there. And then originally I actually had your bet as well. But then I thought, this man has been there for me through my ups and downs. And who would I be to not be there for him at a tournament where some people don't think he can win. Some people think his major championship season is underwhelming. So I'm going to ride with my dog, Scottie Scheffler, to win the Open once again. He's back in the field. Bring on the green. Cash the bet. It's been a month. It's been a tough month. And finally, we're going to get a best bet across the finish line.
Yes. So Patrick has been so deep into my head on these best bets. And I'm wondering how I'm ever going to solve this problem. And when I fired up the outline, I saw Patrick had Rory McIlroy at plus 850 to win as his best bet. I checked later and he had changed it to Scottie Scheffler. Now, if I know anything about anything, Rory McIlroy is absolutely winning this tournament because Patrick has removed him from that best bet. And I thought, wow, what an opportunity where I can not only try to get an 8 to 8.5 to 1 winner, but also be on the winning side of Patrick's pain and suffering when he has removed that play after typing it in, he got rid of it. So I went with Rory McIlroy 8.5 to 1 to win.
It's perfect because you'll get in the black as well, since you're down over $400.
Exactly. So it really just became the perfect storm. The synergies, as you say, Patrick, all came together for me for this wager.
Shout out to the boys at McKinsey.
Shout outs. And shout out to our friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook, because that's where this best bet segment was brought to you by. Make every moment more. Gentlemen, one final thing to do here is to reveal the one and done selections. I will tell you, there are 6 different picks in here. There are 6 lone wolves. How until your heart is content. Reveal them, Josh.
I bet you lost them there. John Rahm. Wow.
Checking in. Don't worry about that pick. Worry about your own, KP. Checking in at $8.5 million. Kyle, you have chosen who?
Ludwig, the winner of this tournament.
8.7 million. Josh has gone with, oh boy.
My gosh.
Oh, that's smelly.
I tried to tell him not. He messaged me earlier today that he was going to do this, and I said, I didn't send it, but in my head, I was sending him the Michael Scott gift where he says, don't. Just don't.
Jordan Spieth is who we're referring to for Josh. I'm at 9 million. I took Bryson because I have been leaking oil, Mad Max style, for about 3 months, and I needed a live golfer. I'll take the guy who's got the best major championship season going. I don't care about fit. I don't have much options left. It's Bryson for me. Mark from overseas, Mark enjoying his time over in the UK, has gone with Tommy Fleetwood. Patrick, you can't catch Greg this week, but you can put a big dent in it. Who are you going with?
Yeah, took a big risk here. I'm going with Brooks Koepka. Got a lot of heavy hitters left for the end of this PGA Tour season. My year is going to really hangs on the balances on if Tony Finau plays a 3M Open. He better. He better, but this week I've got Brooks Koepka.
That's never something you want to say. You want to be saying on July 16th.
He better, and he better be the favorite. Yeah.
He's got to play.
That is Brooks Koepka for Patrick and Greg at 18.8 million, who is leading our big six here and just lurking at the top of the overall leaderboard. You have, I mean, geez, in past years, if you would have rolled this out at the Open Championship, we would all be shaking in our boots. Maybe a little bit different this time around.
Yeah, I had a really hard time with this one. A couple of needs that I have. One, I mean, look at these guys at the top of the big leaderboard. I mean, they're just on fire. I needed a pick that was going to differentiate myself a little bit. I needed some firepower. I needed the ability to win this tournament. And quite frankly, I need to save as much ammunition as I can when it comes to the remaining PGA Tour events. So that pretty much narrowed me down to live players. And I was at that point, since I've played Brooks and Bryson and Cam Smith, I'm pretty much down to Jon Rahm and Tyrrell Hatton. And I went with Jon Rahm. Reason being, he has some pretty decent Open Championship pedigree, 3 top 11 finishes. I know that his season has been pretty poor the last couple of weeks on live. Really, the whole season on live has been pretty good. Not that I put much weight in that, but I don't think Jon Rahm's major season is going to end the way it started. So I'm kind of going out on a limb here, rolling the dice. And this is the game we play. I'm going with Jon Rahm.
18.8 million. Greg has chosen Jon Rahm. Patrick at 13.3. Brooks Koepka. Mark 9.7. Tommy Fleetwood. Rick 9.0. Bryson DeChambeau. Josh 8.7. Jordan Spieth. Kyle 8.5. Ludwig Oberg. Those are the one and done selections, and that concludes the mega preview pod for the Open Championship. Unless there are any final thoughts, questions, concerns, or comments.
Fired up.
While this concludes this show, it does not conclude the previews for the week, because we are going live on television, maybe even cable. I don't know how that stuff works. CBS Sports Network, Wednesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Time, 11 a.m. for those of you on the West Coast.
What about those in Scotland?
It will
Greg,
be
you got this one.
at 10 p.m.
No.
It'll be no. It'll be
10?
7 p.m.
7.
Are they 5 ahead?
They're 5.
They're 8 ahead of me, and I thought they were 8 ahead of New York.
And Abu Dhabi is, I think, 8. I don't know why I threw that one out there, but
What
Team
about,
USA.
what about in Australia? If you're in Australia, a waste of time. If you're in Australia, it'll be on at 8 a.m.
No,
Sorry.
Australia's 12.
If you're in Hawaii, it'll be on at 8 a.m.
This is why we need one time zone.
Australia, it's either.
But the thing is, KP, we have one time zone. We just choose not to use it. We mix it all up.
The sun rises in the east.
It does.
So I think
I
it's a
only
day
ever
ahead,
think
2
about
a.m.
this-
in Australia.
I only ever think about this during the Olympics. Literally.
The Olympics are happening very soon.
Yeah, they
Correct.
are. Yes.
Correct.
This
They
is, again, just to give
Spe-
people a peek behind the curtain. This is what it's like to go on TV with Rick. We'll be 15 seconds away, and you'll say something to him, and be like, "That's right." Yes, Rick, that's right. The Olympics are happening.
You think?
Go ahead, Patrick.
You think Phil Mickelson and the Juice are paired together in round one?
I saw that
You think they'll bring it up, Phil? So what's going on with that?
for sure. 100%.
And I think DJ's the third.
Is that right? It was another live guy. It might have been DJ. Does DJ still play golf?
TBD.
Just Ben
He will
Johnson.
this week.
The Major League Baseball All-Star games tonight. NL versus AL. That's how it works.
That's right.
That's right. All right. That seems like all we have. So we will see you all tomorrow live. And then afterwards, we will upload the video and audio versions for all your viewing pleasures. And then, of course, those round by round recaps, which will be coming each and every round. Big thanks to producer Josh. He does all the hard work behind the scenes. Patrick McDonald is available for all your comments at P McDonald CBS. That's Greg DuCharme. At The Real GFD, that's Kyle Porter at Kyle Porter CBS. And you can find me at Rick Run Good. This has been The First Cut. Catch you next time.